Before he was known as the sword of Allah, he was the sword of the Quraysh. In the ancient city of Mecca, no general was more feared, no tactician more brilliant, and no warrior more undefeated than Khalid ibn al-Walid. He was a man born for the battlefield. When the Quraysh of Mecca marched against the early Muslims, it was Khalid who led their cavalry. It was Khalid's brilliant flanking maneuver at the Battle of Uhud that turned a Muslim victory into a devastating defeat. He was the champion of the idol worshippers, the greatest obstacle to the spread of Islam. But Khalid was not just a warrior, he was a man of deep intellect. As the years passed, and as he watched the Muslims endure hardship after hardship with unwavering faith, something inside him began to shift. He saw the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. He saw the peaceful resolve of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Khalid's sharp mind could no longer ignore the truth. The idols of Mecca were silent stones. The message of Islam was a living truth. One night, alone in his chamber, the undefeated general realized he was fighting a war he could never truly win, because he was fighting against God. Without telling his tribe, Khalid mounted his horse and rode out of Mecca, heading toward the city of Madinah. When he arrived, the Muslims were shocked. The man who had caused them so much pain at Uhud was standing at the gates of the Prophet's mosque. But the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, did not meet him with anger. He met him with a smile. "I knew your intellect would eventually lead you to goodness," the Prophet said. Khalid knelt and accepted Islam. He asked the Prophet to pray for his forgiveness for all the battles he had fought against the Muslims. The Prophet smiled and said, "Islam wipes away everything that came before it." From that day forward, the greatest enemy of Islam became its greatest defender. The Prophet gave him a title that would echo through history: Sayfullah, the sword of Allah. And a sword he was. When the Muslim army faced a massive Byzantine force at the Battle of Mu'tah, the three appointed commanders were killed, one after another. The Muslim army was on the verge of annihilation. The soldiers looked around in desperation and handed the banner to Khalid. With brilliant tactical genius, Khalid reorganized the army overnight. He fought with such ferocity the next day that 9 swords broke in his hand. 9 swords. Only a broad Yemeni blade remained. Against impossible odds, he managed to secure a safe retreat for the Muslim army, saving thousands of lives. When the Muslims finally returned to conquer Mecca, they did not return for revenge. They returned in peace. And leading one of the columns into his hometown, not as a conqueror, but as a humble servant of Allah, was Khalid ibn al-Walid. The city that once cheered him as their champion now watched him tear down the very idols he used to defend. After the passing of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, the Muslim world faced its greatest threats. False prophets arose. Massed empires marched against them. But Caliph Abu Bakr knew exactly who to send. "I will cure the Romans' whispers with Khalid," Abu Bakr declared. At the Battle of Yarmouk, Khalid faced a Byzantine army that outnumbered his forces by a staggering margin. Yet, with unmatched strategy and unbreakable faith, he led the Muslims to one of the most decisive victories in military history. He never lost a single battle, not before Islam and not after. But the greatest test of Khalid's character did not happen on the battlefield. It happened when Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab dismissed him from his command at the height of his success. Umar feared that the people were beginning to put their trust in Khalid rather than in Allah. How did the undefeated general react to being demoted to a regular soldier? Did he rebel? Did he complain? No. Khalid said, I do not fight for Umar, I fight for the Lord of Umar. He picked up his sword and fought just as fiercely in the ranks as he had as the commander. This was the true strength of Khalid. His ego was completely surrendered to God. Years later, the great warrior lay on his deathbed in the city of Homs. He looked at his arms, his chest, his legs. There is not a handspan on my body, he wept, that does not have a scar from a sword, a spear, or an arrow. I sought martyrdom on the battlefield my entire life, and yet here I am, dying on my bed like an old camel. But a friend sitting beside him smiled and said, O Khalid, the Prophet named you the sword of Allah, and the sword of Allah can never be broken on the battlefield.
Khalid ibn al-Walid passed away peacefully.
He left behind no great wealth, no palaces, no worldly treasures, only his armor, his horse, and his sword. But he left a legacy that will never be forgotten. The man who proved that no matter how far you have strayed, no matter what mistakes you have made, you can always turn back to Allah. And when you do, Allah can use you to change the world. This is the story of Khalid ibn al-Walid, the sword of Allah. Thank you for listening to Side Stories with Ustadh Yunus. If you enjoyed this story, then please drop a like, follow, and subscribe for more. May Allah bless you, and we will see you in the next story.
إذا لامست هذه القصة قلبك فتابعنا وشاركها مع من تحب.